Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we'd go over the change logs of the last few days since there was a pretty big update yesterday when it came to War Thunder, trying to fix a lot of the issues in Danger Zone and bring in a bunch of other changes as well. This changes that we see here is going to affect massively aviation at top tier when it comes to how it's played. They've changed the time for the Seeker to activate basically on a lot of missiles, and we'll go into that in a little bit. And also, there is a bunch of other stuff as well, so definitely one to have a look at and also discuss. Before we get into the changelogs though, they have posted what is going to be in the Pages of History events for July, which is really cool. Don't know if you've been doing the Pages of History stuff, but I've been really enjoying them. Obviously, they gave away good old Richard Winters last time as a profile picture, and now we get a new one. We get Charles Upham, and it says, Charles Upham, this simple farmer from New Zealand, had shown such heroism during battles with Axis powers on Crete and in Egypt that he was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military award of Great Britain, twice. Upham fearlessly rushed the enemy fortifications, cleared the machine gun nests with grenades, and kept leading his squad into battle even after being seriously wounded. Due to these brave actions, he became the most highly decorated soldier of the British Commonwealth of Nations. So definitely a very much, kind of important part of history when it comes down to it. And if you haven't been doing the History Pages event, basically you have 8 events per month, one event basically every 3 or 4 days, and all you need to do is get 20,000 score with the vehicles that are used in it, and you are able to get yourself, every time you complete one, either a bunch of backups, some boosters, a premium account for a day, or a random camouflage. And also at the same time, all you have to do is spawn in one of the vehicles of the area in a battle, so you can technically farm the score with other vehicles if you're more comfortable with them, as long as at some point in the battle you spawn in that one, and that is really good. It makes it a lot easier to do, and it means that it opens it up to more people. So in this Pages of History for July, the ones which are going to be available are the first Battle of El Alamein, so Britain versus mainly Germany in July of 1942. Then you have the Silliau offensive, which is basically a large city in Lithuania. This was during July of 1944, so it should be the Soviets versus the Germans. There's also the Allied invasion of Sicily, which of course is going to be in 1943, so should be Italy, but maybe some German forces and also some Allied ones in the form of Britain and America. The Battle of Prokhorovka, which was in 1943. This was obviously part of the Kursk offensive by the Germans, so this will be between Germany and Russia. You'll have obviously stuff like the Ferdinand and the Tigers and the Panthers. One of the first places where stuff like those machines were used en masse, especially the Ferdinand, which led to its baptism as fire, and also a lot of the memes around it, because of the fact that if it went up a slight incline, it would set on fire, stuff like that. Then on the next one, you have Operation Goodwood, which of course was part of the massive offensive on Caen in Normandy by the Allies. So that should be kind of an interesting one, because Operation Goodwood basically was the idea that they were just going to glass the place. They were just kind of done with it. So basically, they brought in a ton of bomber formations. They absolutely bombed the living hell out of everything and then shelled everything, and then basically tried to move in the tanks. But the tanks didn't exactly go well, because they moved single file down a lot of roads, and all you needed was 1 or 2 German tanks or guns sat at the end of them to ambush, and then they just killed everything. Then the next one is going to be the Battle of Guam in 1944. So this one should be pretty fun. Get the Japanese involved in that one, and obviously the Americans. Then Operation Mersad. So this one is actually more of a modern day one. So this was the last big military operation of the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988. So this is going to be a much more high tier one. So make sure that you have the vehicles ready for it. If you actually go to the Pages of History thing in the Achievements tab, you can see when you can see what vehicles are going to be available in each of these events, so you can kind of work towards them when you need to. Then the last one, which is at the end of July, is the first Reserve Sychev operation, and this is in the summer of 1942. Once again, Germany versus the good old Russians. So overall, a lot of World War II stuff still, and one more modern day. I think overall a good mix, and also the profile picture is fantastic, so really sink your teeth into these ones. So before we get into the mega update, there was a little one on the 28th of June, and they fixed a bunch of little things. So the animation of wheels, flaps, and intake flaps on radiators in third-person view and cockpit view for aircraft has been fixed. They also fixed the animation of the opening of drogue parachutes, container flaps on vehicles as well. The P-51D, the radio compass in the cockpit, has been corrected, so it now tells you where you're actually going. The display of shadows in the movie graphics preset has also been corrected, and the Key 43-2 and Key 44-2, all of the versions of them, the display of the bundling of the fuel tanks has been fixed. There was so many model kind of bugs this update, which is just so weird. Usually we don't see that many. I wonder what system they changed, which kind of made all of these things break. It's really, it would be so nice to kind of see under the hood of, certain things, just to see what's going on. So from the big updates today, after the server maintenance, they fixed a ton of stuff, and hopefully now the game will run a lot better than it has been doing. Hopefully that major ground bug has been fixed, the physical model one. It says, for ground vehicles, they fixed a bug wherein a test drive in Soviet vehicles, whilst destroying an SPAA SDKFC 62 crew, could be lost. Oh, interesting. Fixed a bug that caused the secondary gun shell type to not switch to the next shell type via the control if only one shell type was selected for the primary gun. They also fixed a bug that allowed the commander's sight to be activated while the tank was underwater if it was assigned to a separate key. And then the Cromwell 5 RP3, they fixed the missing RP3 rocket detonation when hitting crew members. The Moderna, the T-72, they fixed a bug with the dynamic security protection elements hovering in the air, showing when main blocks of dynamic protection in the front of the turret are damaged. And then the Type 10, they fixed a bug with fabric shields hanging in the air, shown when steel side shields are damaged. So no actual talk about the graphical issues. Hopefully we do see that changed. Unfortunately, right now that doesn't seem to be the case. For aircraft, though, they added information about the maximal possible speed of dropping bombs on the card for aerial bombs. This is really nice. They also added the information about the type of warhead to the card of aircraft missiles. And then we get into probably the biggest change, which is, of course, the changing in activation time for missiles. So I'll go through what they say in the It's Fixed. They say, since weapons with infrared seekers appeared in the game, their activation time was conventionally designed to better balance these weapons. Due to the appearance of more modern vehicles, weaponry, and countermeasures, we decided to revisit this aspect to make it more realistic. If we recall the real prototypes, there are missiles like Manpad's 9M39 Iglas, whose operation time in the ready-to-launch mode is severely limited by the amount of coolant. Yet the majority of prototypes of the air-to-air IR Seeker missiles that appear in War Thunder can remain in the ready-to-launch mode for an extended periods up to several hours. These missiles' activation time in the game will be changed to 1 second, and their operation time in capture mode will be set to 20 seconds. The missiles, whose operation time in the ready-to-launch mode is severely limited by the amount of coolant, will retain the previous activation time and operation time in the ready-to-launch mode. So the missiles that have been revised So basically they have a 1 second activation time. This is the Matra 530E, the 550 Magic, the Matra 550 Magic 2, AIM-9B, AIM-9 FGW2, 9D, 9E, 9G, 9J, 9P, 9H, 9L, RB24, 24J, the 74, the R3S, the R13M1, the R60, 60M, the R23T, 24T, PL2, PL5B, SRAM, Firestreak, Redtop, Shafrir 1, and also Shafrir 2. So the vast majority of missiles in the game, and not just IR ones. So this is going to fundamentally change how a lot of people approach high-tier gameplay, and it's going to become harder to actually play defensive now. You're going to have to be on the ball all the time. There's going to be no window between a person locking you and them appearing on you. So this is going to be tough. There's going to be a lot more people just randomly killed after not turning around. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really rough one for a lot of people. It's going to take a while to get used to this one. They also removed restrictions on maximum launch vehicle overload at air-to-air missile launch. And for the AIM-9D, they removed the IR disarming before missile launch, which obviously is a little bit of a problem. The KH-25, 25ML, the 29L, 25L, and AS-30L, they added targeting of IR from aircraft aiming systems and detargeting of IR prior to missile launch. The Milan as well, they fixed a bug with limitations of maximum launch speed of the AIM-9B. They've also fixed an assault fuse not working correctly, in which a dropped bomb exploded even if less than a second passed from the moment of the drop. The H-1G for Israel, they fixed a bug which caused the aiming marker to drift down after firing half the unguided rockets mounted on an outboard weapon in slot 6 or 8, which is good for it. I was actually playing that yesterday and trying to get that decal done. My god, I am bad at helicopters. Like, I'm probably showing you some of the footage in the background of me trying to get kills with them. I apologize. That's all I can say. The F4G, they fixed a bug that caused the IRCM to incorrectly fire forward in an aircraft, which is obviously good. The A4N, they fixed a bug that caused the AIM-9D plus 5 1,000-pound suspended armament kits to use the wrong pylon for the AIM-9D. The A4N's actually pretty fun to play. I actually enjoyed my time with it, weirdly enough. Even though it's not, the best vehicle out there, it does have some quite nice features to it. Like, the engine's really nice on it, the AIM-9Ds are really nice on it. Obviously, the Mavericks are quite nice as well. Overall, it's a pretty cool vehicle. I hope it gets a proper lineup at some point. The Su-22 UM-3K, they fixed a bug that caused the pylon to be displayed on the other side when the KH-25ML, 29L, or the S-24B missiles were suspended on the under fuselage right attachment point. The F-105D, the Thunder Chief, they corrected the number of icons in suspended armament menu for the BLU-27. The F-14A Early, they corrected takeoff performance and reduced takeoff speed, added ability to fold the wings in parking as well, which is fantastic. For Naval, there was a few changes to the Comandante Medagli d'Oro. They corrected the operation and display of bombs mounted on board. They corrected the ammunition displayed in auxiliary caliber cellar. I'm guessing that's not supposed to be display of bombs mounted, maybe ammunition mounted, so I don't know why it would have bombs on it, unless they mean something else. The PR-50, the SKR Yenot, and the Karl Marx, they corrected the type of depth bombs, or maybe they mean depth charges, and firing ranges, fair enough. Nobody uses them anyway. The composition and weight of explosives on the 12.7mm Breda Safat ammunition was changed from 1.1 grams of TNT to 0.6 grams of PETN. And the Italian 305mm AP shell explosion delay increased from 0.01 seconds up to 0.035 seconds. So that should actually kind of help it a little bit. It may not look like it would help it on the outset, but that means it can penetrate and then explode a little bit later, so it should do more damage to the internals. Game mechanics wise, they fixed a bug that caused no penalty for destroying allied vehicles in modes with the system of rewards for useful actions, so that's good. And then on the interface, They fixed a bug where the crew window, the tooltip, or the reload skill for weapons didn't completely match the weapons available for the selective aircraft, so wasn't too useful, now it is. If in naval battles, in the statistics window, in the battle replay, additional armament icons for ships, if any, has been improved. So the aircraft bomb icon has been changed to the depth charge icon, and they've also added the mine icon. These icons look pretty nice, actually, so you can see who's carrying what, and kind of plan accordingly. Just basically, if somebody is carrying depth charges, it means they have an exposed ammo rack, so shoot at it. The locations, the exit outside of the game zone of the location Stalingrad tank battle has been closed. This has been an ongoing issue, and I feel like has been fixed multiple times, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, it feels like it was at least. The graphics, they fixed missing shadows in the hangar on minimum graphics presets when using an integrated or weak video card, such as the HD Graphics 630 or the GeForce GT 1030. It's nice to see that graphics cards in general seem to be decreasing in price now, so hopefully at some point when they hit rock bottom, people will be able to pick some stuff up to help them out. On sounds, the explosion sounds have been adjusted in accordance with player feedback, low frequencies have been added, echo has been partially removed, the balance of the sound elements of the player's ground vehicles has been slightly adjusted, engines, tracks, surfaces under vehicles, and then new mechanical sounds for failing aircraft parts have been created. I'm guessing that's supposed to be falling. They've replaced the old ones, which sounded more like explosions. They can be heard, for example, when detaching unretracted landing gear or wing rip at high speed. So we'll see what that sounds like. The calculation of the Doppler effect has also been fixed. Now it's more pronounced for objects moving quickly relative to the player, aircraft, helicopters, missiles, and ATGM systems. And also an error has been fixed that the sound of tracks rubbing against the ground under the vehicle would continue if the track was damaged or if there was a sudden stop. I actually had that one recently. I was very confused by it. But overall, whenever sound changes come in, obviously we're going to have to test it out and see what it's like. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. The sounds get changed so much in War Thunder, it's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on. But that's all of the changes when it comes to the It's Fixed. The main one obviously being the air-to-air missile change and the Seeker head change. But at the same time, there's a really cool Page of History event. Make sure to get that stuff done. And also make sure to give those high-tier machines a go to see how those new missiles will act. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.